The bass line pounded through the floor and straight into my bones, red neon bleeding across sweat-slick skin and $1,000 watches. I gripped my glass like a lifeline, knuckles white, the whiskey inside untouched and watered down by melted ice. 3 months. 3 months since I'd slipped out of our apartment at 3 a.m. with a split lip and a bruised rib that still ached when I breathed too deep. 3 months of new names, burner phones, and jumping at shadows. And now Liam was here. Elizabeth. Sarah had to shout over the music, her glitter-shadowed eyes wide. You okay? You look like you're about to bolt. I couldn't answer. Because I'd just seen him weaving through the crowd, tall, blonde, smiling that polite smile that made everyone think he was harmless. Everyone except me. Sarah followed my stare. Oh shit. That's him? He hadn't seen me yet, but he would. He always did. My feet wouldn't move. The exits were oceans away, blocked by bodies writhing under crimson lights. Sarah grabbed my wrist. VIP. Now. My friend works the rope. We slid along the wall like criminals. The bouncer lifted the velvet rope without a word. Sarah's smile could open any door, and suddenly the air changed. Cooler. Quieter. Expensive. Leather booths, crystal buckets fizzing with sparklers, men in black suits who watched the world like they owned it. Sarah was already mapping our next move. Bathroom, then staff exit. Too late. Liam was at the rope, flashing that charming grin, lying through his teeth to the distracted guard. He was coming. That's when the panic narrowed everything to a single point of light in the darkest corner booth. He sat like a king who'd already won the war, shaved head, ink crawling up his neck and over one cheekbone, black suit cut perfect to shoulders that looked capable of breaking the world in half. Gold watch catching the red glow. Eyes that didn't blink. Even seated, he owned the room. Everyone else just rented space in it. Our gazes locked. Something cold and electric shot through me. He saw me. Really saw, and then his stare flicked past me, clocked Liam, and hardened. I didn't think. I just moved. I broke from Sarah and ran straight to him. Please, I breathed, hands shaking on the edge of his table. Keys. Liam's voice cut through the music right behind me. Elizabeth, babe, there you are. Before the next heartbeat, a tattooed arm slid around my waist and pulled me down, hard, onto the MAFIA boss's lap. Solid muscle under bespoke wool. Heat and the faint scent of oud and gun oil. His grip locked me against his chest like I'd been forged to fit there. Trust me, Quan murmured against my ear, low enough only I could hear, lethal enough the whole booth froze. Liam stepped closer, smile faltering. Hey, man, that's my girlfriend. We just had a little. Quan didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. I don't see a girlfriend, he said, calm as death. I see a woman who's exactly where she wants to be. The two men flanking him stood in perfect sync. No one touched Liam, but the threat filled the air like smoke. Liam's face drained of color. He knew whose lap I was sitting on. Everyone in this city did. One of Quan's men stepped forward. Liam took 3 steps back, hands up, already retreating. The velvet rope swallowed him whole. I tried to slide off, legs trembling. Quan's arm didn't budge. Stay, he ordered, soft but non-negotiable. I swallowed. Elizabeth. He repeated it like he was memorizing the weight of it. Quan. No last name. He didn't need one. His thumb brushed the bare skin just above my hip, slow circles that somehow steadied my pulse instead of racing it. You're shaking, he observed, voice quieter now. I'm sorry. He wouldn't stop. Don't apologize. His gaze dropped to the faint yellow shadow of a bruise on my collarbone, then back to my eyes. He put his hands on you? I couldn't speak. I nodded once. Quan's jaw flexed, the only crack in the ice. Then he leaned in, lips almost brushing my ear again. Dine with me, he said, loud enough for the entire VIP section to hear. Sit here so he knows you're taken. And just like that, the red lights didn't feel so suffocating anymore. I was still terrified. But for the first time in months, I wasn't terrified alone. The city slid past the tinted windows in streaks of red and gold, but I barely saw it. I was still on Quan's lap in my head, his arm a steel band around my waist, his voice in my ear telling the entire club I belonged to him now. The SUV stopped on a private sub-level garage I didn't even know existed. Quan got out first, rounded the hood, and opened my door himself. No driver, no bodyguards trailing us. Just him, the quiet click of his watch, and the weight of what we'd just done. I stepped onto polished concrete, legs unsteady. He didn't touch me. He simply waited, hands in his pockets, until I walked beside him to the elevator. The ride up was silent. 38 floors of silence so thick I could hear my own pulse. When the doors opened directly into the penthouse, my breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling glass on 3 sides, the city glittering like broken diamonds below us. Black marble, dark wood, low amber lighting. It smelled faintly of cedar and coffee. No gold-plated excess, no tacky thrones, just money that didn't need to prove anything. Quan shrugged out of his jacket, tossed it over a chair. The ink on his neck shifted as he rolled his shoulders. Bedrooms that way, he said, nodding down a hallway. Yours. Lock on the inside, key on the dresser if you want it. Mine. Not ours. Not guest. Mine. I followed because my feet moved before my brain caught up. The room was bigger than my old apartment. A bed dressed in charcoal linens, a wall of windows with a view straight across the river, and, my heart stuttered, a small stack of shopping bags on the bench. I had someone guess your size, he said from the doorway, voice low. If it's wrong, throw it out. We'll fix it tomorrow. He didn't come inside. He stayed on the threshold like an invisible line existed that he refused to cross. On the nightstand. A brand new phone still in the box, a black credit card with my name already embossed on it, and a single key fob. I picked up the phone. The home screen opened to a banking app. The available balance made my knees weak. That's yours, he said. No strings. You want to disappear tonight, use it. Door's right there. He tilted his head toward the elevator. But if you stay, my rules are simple. I finally found my voice. Which are? His eyes met mine, dark and unreadable. My protection doesn't come with chains. You walk out anytime you want. No questions. But while you're under my roof, no one touches you. A beat. Not even me, he added, quieter, unless you ask. The air left my lungs. I had expected a gilded cage, locks on the outside, guards at the door. Instead he was handing me the keys and telling me I was free to leave the second I decided he was worse than Liam. I should have run. I didn't. He left me standing there, stunned, clutching a phone that could buy me a new life in another country before sunrise. Hours crawled by. I showered in a bathroom the size of a spa, changed into soft black silk pajamas that fit perfectly, and still couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes I saw Liam's face draining of color when Quan's men stepped forward. At 3:17 a.m. I padded barefoot into the main living area. Quan was at the stove. Shirtless now, suit pants riding low, tattoos sprawling across his back like a dark map of every war he'd won. The scent of garlic and chili hit me hard, real food, not the protein bars I'd lived on for weeks. He didn't turn. You eat pad ki mao? Yes. My voice cracked like I hadn't used it in years. He slid a plate across the island. Noodles, basil, perfectly charred beef. A bottle of water, condensation already beating on the glass. Sit. I obeyed. The first bite made me realize I was starving. The second bite made me realize he was watching me, not like a predator, just cataloging. Making sure I ate enough. When the plate was empty, I finally spoke. Why are you doing this? He leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, muscles shifting under ink. Because tonight you chose my lap over running into the dark. That deserves an answer better than fear. I laughed, a broken sound. Most people would say I traded one monster for another. His gaze didn't waver. Then leave. Door's still there. I looked at the elevator, then back at him. I don't want to, I whispered. The truth tasted terrifying. Something flickered across his face, too fast to name, and was gone. He moved to clean the pan. I watched the play of muscle under skin, the quiet efficiency of a man who could kill with his hands and still cook at 3 a.m. because a shaken woman couldn't sleep. Later, when he disappeared down the opposite hall and the penthouse finally felt too big, I slipped back into my room. Curiosity pulled me to the nightstand on his side of the bed, no, the guest nightstand. I wasn't sure why I opened the drawer. The gun sat there like it had been waiting for me. Matte black, heavy even to look at. Extra magazine beside it. No safety on. My fingers hovered, then pulled back. I stared at it for a long time, heart hammering against my ribs. This was the price of the freedom he'd just handed me. The city 38 floors below, the black card, the key fob, the untouched silk on my skin. All of it balanced on the edge of that weapon and the man who kept it within reach while he slept. I closed the drawer softly. Tomorrow I could still walk out. Tonight, for the first time in months, I crawled into bed without barricading the door. And somewhere down the hall, the most dangerous man in the city left his own door unlocked. I woke to sunlight pouring through glass and the smell of coffee I hadn't made. For one disoriented second I forgot where I was. Then the memory of the gun in the drawer slammed into me, followed immediately by the memory of Quan's bare back at the stove at 3 a.m. I sat up too fast, heart racing like I'd been caught doing something wrong. The penthouse was quiet. No guards in the hallway, no footsteps. Just a single mug steaming on the nightstand and a note in sharp, slanted handwriting. Gone to handle business. Eat something. I stared at the initial like it had teeth. I should have stayed put. Instead I showered, pulled on jeans and an oversized cream sweater from the bags he'd left, and did the stupidest thing I'd done since climbing into a mafia boss's lap. I walked out. The elevator opened straight into the private garage. The key fob he'd given me chirped, and a sleek silver Audi flashed its lights. I told myself I was just getting air. I told myself I'd be back before he noticed. Sarah was already at the corner cafe, bouncing in her seat the second she saw me. Holy shit, you're alive, she hissed, yanking me into a booth. I thought that guy fed you to the river last night. I ordered the strongest espresso they had. My hands still shook when I wrapped them around the cup. Start talking, Sarah demanded. Because the entire club is calling you the girl who tamed Quan freaking Moreau. The name hit me like a slap. Quan Moreau. I'd heard it in whispers before, bodies in the harbor, entire cartels folding overnight, a man who didn't lose wars because he ended them before they started. Sarah leaned in, voice low. People don't walk away from him, Liz. Ever. Once he claims something, or someone, it's his. Forever. Like, 6 feet under forever if you try to take it back. My stomach turned cold. He said I could leave any time, I whispered. Sarah gave me the look she reserved for very stupid puppies. That's what they all think. Right before they disappear or decide disappearing's not worth it. I stared into my coffee and saw Liam's face instead, his polite smile cracking when Quan's arm locked around me. Sarah followed my gaze. Speaking of psychos, your ex looked like he was going to puke when they escorted him out. Good. I wanted to tell her everything. Instead I swallowed the rest of the espresso in one burning gulp and stood. I have to go. The Audi got me back in 12 minutes. I was stepping out of the elevator, rehearsing apologies, when I saw him. Quan leaned against the kitchen island, arms crossed over a black Henley, ink stark against his throat. The casual pose did nothing to hide the fury coiled under his skin. His eyes tracked me like a sniper scope. You left without telling me. 4 words. Quiet. Lethal. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. He pushed off the counter, closing the distance in 3 slow strides. That happens again before he's handled, he said, voice low, and I put a detail on you. I don't want to. Don't make me. I found my voice. You said I was free to. I said you're free to leave me. He stopped just short of touching me. I didn't say you're free to get snatched off the street by that piece of shit. My pulse hammered in my throat. How did you even know? Because I know everything that happens in this city the second it happens. His gaze flicked over me. Checking for bruises, for fear, for anything that wasn't there yesterday. Next time, tell me. Or take one of my men. Or take me. But you do not walk out alone while he's still breathing. I should have been terrified. Instead, something hot and reckless flared in my chest. And when he's not breathing? I asked before I could stop myself. Quan's eyes darkened. Then you come and go whenever the hell you want. He turned away first, pouring coffee like the conversation was over. I stood there shaking with adrenaline and something dangerously close to gratitude. Across town, in a high-rise precinct that reeked of burnt coffee and bleach, Liam nursed a split knuckle and a rage that tasted like copper. His uncle, Deputy Commissioner Harlan, leaned against the desk, arms folded, badge glinting. You're sure it was Quan Moreau? Positive. Liam's smile was all teeth. He had his hands all over my girlfriend. Harlan exhaled through his nose. You picked the wrong night to lose your temper in his club, son. She's not his. Liam slammed his fist on the desk. She's confused. Scared. I just need to talk to her. Harlan studied him for a long moment. Half this building owes me favors. The other half owes Quan bigger ones. You want your girl back, we do it quiet. No headlines. No bodies. Yet. Liam's eyes gleamed. I don't care how. I just want her home. Harlan picked up the phone. Then we start with eyes on that penthouse. And we remind Quan Moreau that some things even he can't touch. Back in the glass tower 38 floors above the city, I watched Quan slide a new phone across the counter toward me. Speed dial 1, he said. That's me. You feel wrong about anything, you hit it. I stared at the screen. And 2? I asked. His smile was small and sharp and utterly terrifying. 2 is what happens to men who don't learn the first time. He walked away, leaving me holding a direct line to the most dangerous man in the city. And for the first time, I wasn't sure which one of us Liam should be more afraid of. I clutched the phone like it was a grenade, thumb hovering over speed dial 2. The one that ended problems. Permanently. Quan had vanished down the hall, leaving me alone with the weight of what he'd implied. Liam wasn't just an ex anymore. He was a target. And I was the bait that had dragged a mafia boss into the crossfire. The rest of the day blurred. I paced the penthouse, stared at the city crawling below, tried to imagine a life without looking over my shoulder. By evening, the silence pressed in like a fist. When Quan finally returned, the elevator doors hissed open with the faint scent of rain and gunmetal. He didn't say hello. He just shed his jacket, revealing the holster strapped under his arm, and poured 2 glasses of scotch. One slid across the island toward me. We need to talk, he said, voice like gravel under tires. I took the glass but didn't drink. About Liam? About you. He leaned forward, elbows on marble, eyes locking onto mine with that intensity that made the room feel smaller. I dug deeper today. Your ex isn't just a controlling prick. He's connected. Uncle in the department, friends in low places. He's already sniffing around my buildings, asking questions. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means he won't stop. Not until he drags you back or I put him down. Quan's jaw tightened, the ink on his neck shifting like shadows. So I'm giving you options. 2 doors. You pick one. I set the glass down too hard. Scotch sloshed over the rim. Doors? He straightened, circling the island until he was close enough I could feel the heat rolling off him. Door 1, you disappear. Completely. New passport, new name, new country. I have people who specialize in clean breaks. You'll never see Sarah again, or anyone from your old life. But you'll be safe. Untouchable. Gone by dawn if you say the word. The words hit like ice water. A whole life erased. No more coffee runs with Sarah, no more familiar streets. Just endless starting over, alone. And door 2? I whispered, already dreading it. His gaze darkened, voice dropping low. You stay. Publicly. As mine. He let the word hang, possessive and raw. The city will know in 24 hours. Whispers in the right ears, a photo leaked, maybe a dinner at my restaurant. Liam hears you're Quan Moreau's woman, he backs off. Forever. Because touching you means touching me, and no one survives that. My breath caught. His woman. Not a guest. Not a favor. A claim that would paint a target on my back bigger than Liam ever could. But also, armor. The kind that came with a man who ruled the shadows. Why public? I asked, voice trembling. Why not just protect me quietly? Because quiet doesn't send the message. He stepped closer, close enough his breath brushed my skin. And because if you choose this, it's real. No halfway. You stand beside me, and the world knows you're off limits. I swallowed hard. What if I can't choose? You have a week. His tone softened, almost reluctant. Think it through. No pressure from me. But after that, we move. One way or the other. He turned away then, heading for the fridge like the conversation was just another business deal. But the air crackled, charged with everything unsaid. That night, sleep evaded me again. I wandered into the kitchen at midnight, drawn by the glow of the fridge light. Quan was there, same as before, pouring water, back to me, the broad lines of his shoulders etched in shadow. Couldn't sleep, he asked without turning. Too much in my head. I leaned against the counter, watching him. Those doors, they both feel like traps. He set the glass down and faced me, expression unreadable. Freedom always has a price. We stood there, inches apart, the penthouse silent except for the distant hum of the city. His eyes dropped to my lips, then back up, and something shifted. Heat pooled in my core as he reached past me for a towel, his arm brushing mine. Deliberate? Accidental? The contact sent sparks racing across my skin. Quan, I breathed, not sure what I was asking. He froze, hand lingering near my waist. Elizabeth. The way he said my name, low, rough, undid me. I tilted my head up, drawn like gravity. His face lowered, breath mingling with mine, lips so close I could almost taste the scotch from earlier. Then he pulled back. Sharp. Controlled. Not like this, he growled, voice strained. Not until you choose door 2 with a clear heart. Not fear. Not gratitude. You. My body screamed in protest, every nerve alight. I wanted to grab his shirt, pull him back, tell him the fear was fading into something hotter, deeper. But he was right. This wasn't just protection anymore. It was a line we couldn't uncross. He stepped away, running a hand over his shaved head. Get some rest. I fled to the balcony instead, the cool night air slapping my flushed skin. The city sprawled below, a sea of lights winking like distant fires. Door 1, vanish into that endless black, a ghost with no ties, no one to miss or mourn. Safe, but hollow. Door 2. Step into the glow beside Quan, claimed and armored, but tied to a world of blood and shadows. Liam gone, but new threats rising. And Quan, his touch, his protection, his everything. I gripped the railing, knuckles white, terrified of both. A week. 7 days to decide if I was running forever, or falling into the arms of the man who could break me worse than Liam ever dreamed. I clutched the phone like it was a grenade, thumb hovering over speed dial 2. The one that ended problems. Permanently. Quan had vanished down the hall, leaving me alone with the weight of what he'd implied. Liam wasn't just an ex anymore. He was a target. And I was the bait that had dragged a mafia boss into the crossfire. The rest of the day blurred. I paced the penthouse, stared at the city crawling below, tried to imagine a life without looking over my shoulder. By evening, the silence pressed in like a fist. When Quan finally returned, the elevator doors hissed open with the faint scent of rain and gunmetal. He didn't say hello. He just shed his jacket, revealing the holster strapped under his arm, and poured 2 glasses of scotch. One slid across the island toward me. "We need to talk," he said, voice like gravel under tires. I took the glass but didn't drink. "About Liam? About you?" He leaned forward, elbows on marble, eyes locking onto mine with that intensity that made the room feel smaller. "I dug deeper today. Your ex isn't just a controlling prick. He's connected. Uncle in the department, friends in low places. He's already sniffing around my buildings, asking questions." My stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" "It means he won't stop. Not until he drags you back or I put him down." Quan's jaw tightened, the ink on his neck shifting like shadows. "So I'm giving you options. 2 doors. You pick one." I set the glass down too hard. Scotch sloshed over the rim. "Doors?" He straightened, circling the island until he was close enough I could feel the heat rolling off him. "Door 1, you disappear. Completely. New passport, new name, new country. I have people who specialize in clean breaks. You'll never see Sarah again, or anyone from your old life. But you'll be safe. Untouchable. Gone by dawn if you say the word." The words hit like ice water. A whole life erased. No more coffee runs with Sarah, no more familiar streets. Just endless starting over, alone. "And door 2? I whispered, already dreading it. His gaze darkened, voice dropping low. "You stay. Publicly. As mine." He let the word hang, possessive and raw. "The city will know in 24 hours. Whispers in the right ears, a photo leaked, maybe a dinner at my restaurant. Liam hears you're Quan Moreau's woman, he backs off. Forever. Because touching you means touching me, and no one survives that." My breath caught. His woman. Not a guest. Not a favor. A claim that would paint a target on my back bigger than Liam ever could. But also, armor. The kind that came with a man who ruled the shadows. "Why public?" I asked, voice trembling. "Why not just protect me quietly?" "Because quiet doesn't send the message." He stepped closer, close enough his breath brushed my skin. "And because if you choose this, it's real. No halfway. You stand beside me, and the world knows you're off limits." I swallowed hard. "What if I can't choose?" "You have a week." His tone softened, almost reluctant. "Think it through. No pressure from me. But after that, we move. One way or the other." He turned away then, heading for the fridge like the conversation was just another business deal. But the air crackled, charged with everything unsaid. That night, sleep evaded me again. I wandered into the kitchen at midnight, drawn by the glow of the fridge light. Quan was there, same as before, pouring water, back to me, the broad lines of his shoulders etched in shadow. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without turning. "Too much in my head." I leaned against the counter, watching him. "Those doors, they both feel like traps." He set the glass down and faced me, expression unreadable. "Freedom always has a price." We stood there, inches apart, the penthouse silent except for the distant hum of the city. His eyes dropped to my lips, then back up, and something shifted. Heat pooled in my core as he reached past me for a towel, his arm brushing mine. Deliberate? Accidental? The contact sent sparks racing across my skin. "Quan," I breathed, not sure what I was asking. He froze, hand lingering near my waist. "Elizabeth." The way he said my name, low, rough, undid me. I tilted my head up, drawn like gravity. His face lowered, breath mingling with mine, lips so close I could almost taste the scotch from earlier. Then he pulled back. Sharp. Controlled. "Not like this," he growled, voice strained. "Not until you choose door 2 with a clear heart. Not fear. Not gratitude. You." My body screamed in protest, every nerve alight. I wanted to grab his shirt, pull him back, tell him the fear was fading into something hotter, deeper. But he was right. This wasn't just protection anymore. It was a line we couldn't uncross. He stepped away, running a hand over his shaved head. "Get some rest." I fled to the balcony instead, the cool night air slapping my flushed skin. The city sprawled below, a sea of lights winking like distant fires. Door 1, vanish into that endless black, a ghost with no ties, no one to miss or mourn. Safe, but hollow. Door 2, step into the glow beside Quan, claimed and armored, but tied to a world of blood and shadows. Liam gone, but new threats rising. And Quan, his touch, his protection, his everything. I gripped the railing, knuckles white, terrified of both. A week. 7 days to decide if I was running forever, or falling into the arms of the man who could break me worse than Liam ever dreamed. The week crawled by in a fever of almosts. Almost kisses in the hallway. Almost confessions at 2 a.m. over whiskey neither of us finished. Almost me walking out the door with a new passport burning a hole in the drawer. Then the 7th night came, and Quan laid a black box on the counter without a word. Inside, a dress the color of fresh blood, silk so fine it felt like smoke against my skin. Backless, plunging, daring. A diamond choker that looked innocent until the light caught it and revealed the tiny, lethal clasp shaped like a crown. Wear this tonight, he said, voice rough. The city finds out who you belong to. I didn't ask where we were going. I already knew this was the night the whispers became a roar. The rooftop restaurant, Obsidian, sat 63 floors above the river, all glass and steel and black marble. The elevator opened straight into a world of low amber light, champagne flutes catching fire, and every dangerous face in the city turning to watch us step out. Quan's hand settled at the small of my back, thumb brushing bare skin. Possessive. Proud. Cameras flashed. Phones lifted. Conversations died mid-sentence. In one heartbeat I went from ghost to queen. He guided me through the crowd like he owned gravity itself. Men twice my age dipped their heads. Women stared with hunger or hatred, didn't matter which. Every eye tracked the hand on my spine, the diamond crown at my throat, the way I leaned into him without thinking. We hadn't spoken the words yet, but the room already knew. Halfway through dinner I excused myself, pulse hammering from champagne and adrenaline. The ladies' room was empty, all cool marble and dim gold sconces. I gripped the counter, staring at my reflection, red lips, wide eyes, the choker glittering like a collar and a crown at once. The door opened behind me. Liam stepped in with 2 men in cheap suits and badges hidden under jackets. The lock clicked. My blood turned to ice. Time to come home, Elizabeth, he said, smile thin and vicious. You've had your fun. One cop moved to block the door. The other cracked his knuckles. I opened my mouth to scream and nothing came out. Then the lights flickered, just once, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Quan was simply there. No sound, no warning. 1 second empty space, the next a wall of black suit and barely leashed violence. He didn't look at the cops. His eyes were only for Liam. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, seized Liam by the throat, and slammed him onto the marble counter so hard the mirror cracked in a spiderweb behind them. Glass rained onto the sink. The cops reached for weapons and froze when 4 of Quan's men materialized from nowhere, guns already drawn and silenced. Quan leaned in, voice so calm it was worse than shouting. Listen carefully, he said, conversational, as if discussing the weather. You speak her name again, I take your tongue. You look at her again, I take your eyes. You think about her when you're alone at night, I take your uncle, your mother, your little cousin who still plays travel soccer on Saturdays. I'll take every single thing you love and I'll make you watch. Liam choked, face purpling, feet kicking uselessly inches above the floor. Quan tightened his grip. Nod if you understand. Liam nodded frantically, tears and terror leaking down his cheeks. Quan released him. Liam slid to the floor, gasping, clutching his throat. Quan turned to the cops. Tell the deputy commissioner his nephew just became a liability. Next time I won't be this polite. The men dragged Liam out like a broken doll. The door shut. Silence. Quan faced me, chest rising and falling too fast, knuckles split and bleeding. The monster in full view. I should have been horrified. Instead I crossed the floor, grabbed his lapels, and kissed him like I was drowning and he was air. He groaned into my mouth, hands sliding into my hair, tilting my head to take the kiss deeper. Blood and scotch and raw need. I tasted the violence still on his tongue and wanted more. When we broke apart we were both shaking. I choose door 2, I whispered against his lips. I choose you. His eyes went molten. He pressed his forehead to mine, breath ragged. Say it again. I choose you, Quan Moreau. All of you. The dark parts too. The elevator doors slid open behind us. His men had cleared the hallway, we were alone. He backed me inside, hands on my hips, mouth at my ear. Then you're mine, Elizabeth. No take-backs. The doors closed on the 63rd floor and the city disappeared. I smiled against his throat, tasting salt and gunpowder. Good, I said. Because I'm never letting you go either. The elevator plummeted, but we didn't notice. Quan's mouth was on mine again before the doors fully shut, hands pinning me to the glass wall, the city blurring into streaks of light behind us. His kiss tasted like victory and violence, and I met it with everything I had, nails in his shoulders, body arched against his, no more holding back. When we hit the garage level, he pulled away just enough to growl, home. Now. The drive was a haze of stolen touches, his hand on my thigh, my fingers tracing the ink on his wrist. The penthouse doors barely closed before he had me against them, dress hiked up, mouth at my throat. Mine, he murmured, teeth grazing skin. Say it. Yours, I gasped. And meant it. By morning, the city knew. My phone buzzed endlessly on the nightstand, Sarah's texts exploding with screenshots. Grainy photos from the restaurant opening, us stepping into the SUV, his hand possessive at my back, me in the red dress, choker gleaming like a brand. Liam's pale face in the background as Quan's men dragged him away. Headlines screamed from underground blogs and encrypted apps, Moreau claims his queen. The king's weakness exposed. Whispers in every shadow club, every backroom deal, Quan Moreau, the untouchable, had gone public with a woman. Me. I silenced the phone and rolled over in the master bed, his bed, now ours. No more guest room. No more doors between us. He'd carried me here last night, stripped the silk from my skin, and worshipped every inch like I was something sacred and profane at once. He was gone when I woke, but the sheets still smelled like him, cedar and smoke. A note on the pillow, handling the fallout. Stay inside today. Q. I smiled at the initial, tracing it with my finger. The fallout. As if claiming me hadn't just painted a bullseye on both our backs. By afternoon, he was back, shedding his jacket and pulling me into his lap on the couch without a word. His mouth found mine, slow this time, devastating in its tenderness. No rush, no violence. Just his hands in my hair, lips mapping mine like he had all the time in the world to learn me. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed together, he whispered, "The city's talking." "Let them," I said, voice breathless. "I chose this." His eyes searched mine, dark and fierce. "No regrets?" I shook my head, fingers tracing the tear tattoo under his eye. "None." We stayed like that until dusk bled red across the glass walls, his arms around me like armor. For the first time, the penthouse didn't feel like a cage, it felt like a kingdom. But kingdoms have snakes. Vince arrived unannounced that evening, one of Quan's lieutenants, a wiry man with a scar bisecting his lip and eyes that never warmed. I'd seen him in the club that first night, flanking Quan like a loyal dog. Now he paced the living room while Quan poured drinks, tension crackling in the air. "The dock shipment's delayed," Vince said, voice clipped. "Cartel's pushing back dates. Says we're distracted." Quan handed him a glass, expression neutral. "Handle it. Offer them the usual incentive." Vince took the drink but didn't sip. His gaze flicked to me, curled on the couch with a book, pretending not to listen. "Boss, with respect, this public thing? It's making waves. People think you're soft." Distracted by, he trailed off, but the word hung unsaid, "pussy." Quan's posture didn't change, but the room went cold. "Say it." Vince met his eyes. "By her. Liam's a nobody, but parading her around? It's a vulnerability. The cartel sees it. Hell, half our guys are whispering." Quan set his glass down with deliberate calm. "You whispering too, Vince?" Vince held up his hands. I'm just saying what needs saying. You built this empire on focus. No weaknesses. Now. Out. Quan's voice was steel. Before I remind you why I'm the one giving orders. Vince left without another word, but the door clicked shut like a gunshot. Quan turned to me, the storm in his eyes fading as he crossed the room. Ignore him. I set the book aside, pulling him down beside me. Is he right? Am I distracting you? He cupped my face, thumb brushing my lip. You're the only thing keeping me sharp. Then he kissed me again, slow and claiming, erasing Vince's words with every touch. But later, when Quan stepped out for a call, I wandered the hall for water, and heard voices from the study. Vince. He must have doubled back, or maybe he'd never left. His voice was low, phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, the girl. She's got him wrapped. Public claim and everything. Distracted as hell. A pause. No, this is the play. She's the way to bring him down. Hit her, and the king crumbles. My blood froze. I backed away silently, heart slamming against my ribs. Vince wasn't just whispering. He was plotting. And I was the weapon. The gala was a glittering cage of chandeliers and camera flashes, but I walked through it like I'd been born wearing diamonds and danger. Reporters shouted questions. How did you meet Quan Moreau? Is it true you tamed the untouchable? I smiled the way he taught me, small, sharp, untouchable, and let his hand on my waist answer for me. By the time we left, every headline had already crowned me, the king's chosen queen. In the back seat of the Maybach, Quan's fingers traced the slit of my dress, climbing higher with every red light. You were perfect tonight, he murmured against my throat. They're terrified of you. Good, I whispered back, and felt him smile against my pulse. The elevator ride up was torture. 38 floors of restraint while his hands slid under silk, teasing but never enough. The second the penthouse doors shut behind us, the leash snapped. He kissed me like a man starved, deep, filthy, reverent. My back hit the hallway wall, gown pooling at my feet as he lifted me, mouth never leaving mine. I wrapped my legs around his waist and felt exactly how much he'd been holding back all night. Bedroom, I gasped. Now. He carried me there like I weighed nothing, laid me on the sheets we'd already claimed as ours, and stood back just long enough to look. Moonlight cut through the glass, silver on black silk, on my skin, on the faint scars Liam had left. Quan's eyes darkened to something feral. He knelt between my thighs, slow enough that I felt every second stretch into forever. His mouth started at my ankle and worked its way up, worshipping, claiming. When he reached the faded crescent bruise on my inner thigh, he pressed his lips to it like he could erase it with heat alone. No one marks you again, he said against my skin, voice ragged. Only me. And I mark you with pleasure, never pain. Then he proved it. Slow. Deliberate. Devastating. Every kiss, every stroke, every whispered filthy promise in that low, wrecked voice. He took me apart with his mouth first, hands pinning my hips when I tried to arch off the bed, refusing to let me hide from how good it felt to be devoured by him. When he finally slid inside me, we both groaned like something broken had finally clicked into place. He moved like the city belonged to him, and tonight I was the only part that mattered. Deep, unhurried strokes that dragged fire through my veins, eyes locked on mine so I couldn't look away from what we were becoming. I came undone twice before he let himself follow, burying his face in my neck, my name a prayer and a curse on his lips. After, we didn't move. Limbs tangled, sweat cooling, hearts hammering against each other in the dark. His fingers traced the scar on my ribs, Liam's ring, the night I finally left. I saw this the first night, he said quietly. Wanted to kill him then. Didn't even know your name yet. I turned to face him, moonlight carving shadows across the ink on his cheek. You pulled me onto your lap to protect me. A low, rough laugh. That's the story I told myself. His thumb brushed my lower lip. Truth? The second you ran to me, eyes wild, shaking like a leaf, I wanted you there. Wanted you on me, under me, mine. The X was just the excuse I seized. My heart cracked open. I've never felt safer, I whispered, than when I'm sitting on the lap of the most dangerous man in the city. His eyes went soft and fierce all at once. He rolled us so I was on top, hands sliding up my back like he couldn't stop touching. Then stay there, Elizabeth. Stay on me, with me, forever. I lowered my mouth to his, tasting salt and truth. Already decided, I breathed against his lips. I'm not going anywhere. Outside, the city kept spinning, deals, betrayals, Vince sharpening his knife in the dark. Inside these glass walls, wrapped around the man every shadow feared, I finally slept without nightmares. Because the monster under my bed had become the one in it, and he'd just promised to burn the world before he let anyone hurt me again. The days after blurred into a haze of tangled sheets and whispered secrets, Quan's hands mapping my body like territory he'd conquered long ago. We barely left the penthouse, meetings rerouted, calls ignored. Vince's words lingered like smoke, but Quan dismissed them with a kiss to my temple. Loyalties earned, he'd say. And tested. That changed with a single encrypted text at 11 p.m. Quan's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He read it once, face hardening into the mask I'd first seen in the club. Docs. Midnight. The cartel's moving early. I sat up, silk slipping off my shoulder. I'm coming. His eyes flicked to me, dark and unyielding. No. Too risky. I grabbed his wrist before he could stand. You said I'm your partner now. Not a trophy. If it's your world, it's mine too. He searched my face, jaw tight. Then a small, reluctant smile. Stubborn as hell. He pulled me in for a bruising kiss. Fine. But you stay in the car. Armed. 30 minutes later, rain hammered the docks like gunfire, turning the world to slick black and silver. Quan's SUV idled under a rusted crane, headlights off. 2 of his men flanked us outside, coats bulging with hardware. The air smelled of salt and diesel, thick with tension. Quan squeezed my hand once. Stay low. Any wrong vibe, you drive out. He stepped into the downpour, suit instantly soaked, approaching the shadowed figures by the crates. The cartel reps, 3 men in leather, 1 with a briefcase. Handshakes. Words lost to the storm. I gripped the wheel, heart slamming. Something felt off. Too quiet. Too easy. Then headlights exploded from the fog, 4 SUVs screeching in from the east. Not cartel. Rivals. The Rossi family, hungry for Quan's territory since his brother's death. Gunfire cracked the night. Quan's men dropped to one knee, returning fire. Bullets pinged off metal, shattered glass. The cartel scattered, one crumpling with a red bloom on his chest. Quan dove behind a crate, pistol in hand, barking orders into his earpiece. I should have driven away. Instead I grabbed the Glock from the glove box, the one he'd taught me to use last week, and bolted out into the rain. Elizabeth. His roar cut through the chaos. A Rossi thug spotted me, raised his rifle. Quan tackled him from the side, fist cracking bone. They rolled in the mud, Quan's knife flashing once, twice. The man went still. But more came. Tires squealed as another vehicle rammed Quan's men. Suppressed shots whispered death. One of Quan's guys fell, clutching his gut. I fired blindly into the storm, the recoil jarring my arms. A rival yelped, clutching his leg. Quan reached me, shoving me toward the SUV. Get in. We ran, backs to the crates. Bullets whined past, splintering wood. That's when I saw him, Vince. Not fighting for us. Slipping away into the shadows, phone in hand, a smirk twisting his scarred lip. Traitor, I hissed. Quan followed my gaze. Fury ignited in his eyes. I'll kill him. A burst of automatic fire cut us off. Quan spun me behind him just as 2 rounds slammed into his chest. He grunted, staggering, blood blooming dark against his shirt. No. The scream tore from my throat. He fired back, dropping the shooter with a headshot. But he was fading, knees buckling in the mud. I hooked my arms under his, dragging him toward the SUV. Rain mixed with blood, slicking my hands. He weighed a ton, solid muscle turned deadweight. Bullets zipped past, one grazing my arm like fire. "Leave me," he rasped. "Shut up." I hauled harder, muscles screaming. His men covered us, one taking a hit to the shoulder but still firing. We reached the door. I yanked it open, shoved him into the back seat. Climbed in after, slamming it shut as glass spiderwebbed from another round. Keys. Ignition. The engine roared to life. I floored it, tires spinning on wet gravel, fishtailing out of the docks. Headlights pierced the rain, pursuit behind us, but Quan's remaining man rammed them off the road in a crunch of metal. I grabbed my phone, speed dialing the private dock. Doc's ambush. Gunshots to the chest. "He's bleeding out, hurry." The doc barked instructions, pressure on the wounds, keep him awake. I tore off my jacket, pressed it to the holes in Quan's torso. Blood soaked through instantly, hot and sticky. He slumped against me, head in my lap, eyes fluttering. Rain drummed the roof like a funeral march. "Elizabeth," his voice was wet, weak. Tattooed hand found mine, squeezed faintly. "I'm here." Tears mixed with rain on my face. "Stay with me. If I die," he whispered, each word a fight, "you run." New name. Door 1. "Promise me." I shook my head, pressing harder on the wounds. "You're not dying. You promised to burn the world for me, remember? Can't do that dead." A ghost of a smile. Stubborn. His eyes closed. I drove like a maniac through the storm, sirens wailing in my head, praying the doc's clinic wasn't too far. Because if Quan Moreau died tonight, the city wouldn't just burn. I'd light the match myself. The clinic was a blur of fluorescent lights and blood-smeared tile, hidden in a warehouse that smelled like antiseptic and rust. The doc. Gray-haired, no questions asked, met us at the door with a gurney and 2 nurses who moved like shadows. They wheeled Quan inside, barking orders, 2 entrance wounds, possible lung hit, pressure dropping. I followed, hands sticky with his blood, ignoring the nurse who tried to pull me back. "Family only," she snapped. "I'm his," I said, voice steel. And that was that. Surgery took 4 hours. I paced the waiting room, jacket crusted red, replaying every second. Vince's smirk in the rain, the crack of gunfire, Quan's body jerking as bullets tore into him. For me. Always for me. When the doc emerged, scrubbing mask down, he nodded once. "He's stable." Bullet missed the heart by millimeters. The other nicked a lung, but he's tough. He'll wake soon. I didn't cry until I was alone by his bedside. Machines beeped steady rhythm, for dripping clear fluid into his tattooed arm. He looked smaller under the sheets. Shaved head pale against the pillow, chest bandaged white. The tear ink under his eye seemed darker, like a promise kept. I held his hand, thumb tracing the faded scars on his knuckles. "You don't get to die," I whispered. "Not after making me need you this much." Hours blurred. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. Just watched his chest rise and fall, willing him back. When his eyes finally opened, groggy, unfocused, they found me first. "Elizabeth." My name on his lips, rough from the tube they'd pulled. I leaned in, tears hot on my cheeks. "I'm here." He tried to sit up, winced. "The docs. Handled. Your men cleaned it up. Rossi's retreating." I didn't mention Vince. "Not yet. But you scared the hell out of me." His fingers squeezed mine, weak but there. "Promised you'd run if." I'm done running. The words burst out, fierce and final. From Liam. From your world. From you. I'm not vanishing into some new name, some empty life. I want this, us. Dangerous as it is. I want to build something real, Quan. With you. His eyes softened, the cold Mafia king cracking open. He tugged me closer, ignoring the monitor's protest. You sure? This life, it doesn't get safer. I pressed my forehead to his. I'm sure. You're my safety. Burn it all if you have to, I'll stand in the flames with you. He smiled then, small and true. My queen. 6 months later asterisk. The city had changed. Or maybe I had. Liam vanished 3 weeks after the docks. No body, no trace, just a quiet rumor that the deputy commissioner's nephew had relocated permanently. Quan never confirmed it, but the way his eyes darkened when I asked said enough. Vince lasted longer. Quan hunted him personally, traced the betrayal to a Rossi payoff, cornered him in a dingy motel. I didn't ask for details. Just woke one morning to Quan sliding back into bed, clean but with fresh knuckles. It's done, he murmured against my hair. And that was the end of snakes in our garden. The empire stabilized. Rossi backed off after losing half their men in retaliatory strikes. Quan's hold tightened, but so did ours. Nights tangled in sheets, mornings with coffee and quiet plans for a future that included more than survival. Tonight was the Capo Summit. A private room in Obsidian, the rooftop restaurant where it all went public. I walked in on Quan's arm, black gown hugging curves he'd mapped 1,000 times, his ring on my finger, a massive black diamond set in platinum thorns. Untouchable. Irreplaceable. The rock wasn't just jewelry, it was a warning to the world. Heads turned. Capos, hard men with scars and suits, stood as we entered. Respect for him. Curiosity for me. Whispers followed, Moreau's wife. The one who made him bleed, and live. Quan guided me to the head of the table, his hand warm at my back. Deals were discussed, territories, shipments, alliances. I listened, chimed in once, pointing out a flaw in a smuggling route that made 3 capos nod approvingly. Quan's pride burned hot in his gaze. When the plates arrived, steak, wine, the scent of power, I didn't sit in my chair. Instead, I slid into Quan's lap, right there in front of everyone. His arm wrapped around my waist automatically, possessive and sure. The room went still, forks pausing midair. I leaned in, lips brushing his ear, then kissed him, slow, claiming, unashamed. His hand tightened on my hip, a low growl only I could hear. Dine with me, I whispered, loud enough for the table. Let them all know I'm taken. His laugh was soft thunder. He pulled me closer, raising his glass to the room. To my queen. Glasses clinked. The city glittered below, ours for the taking. I'd run from one cage into the arms of a man who built me a throne instead. Dangerous? Always. But free. Valued. Loved. And I'd choose him, every single time.